Hello, guys. How are we doing? Welcome back to the Three Hammers again. Me and Paul have got together. We decided to do a little series, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to release these on a Sunday. So this is a 3-part series about legends. We're going to start from 1996 because that's when me and Paul was like 10, 11 years old, and we'll go all the way to about 2020, just discussing players from the past. This show is called Legends, Heroes, and Icons. Obviously, the word legend is going to be really loosely sort of played about with it. Obviously, me and Paul have discussed it times on the podcast. You know, the only true legends are the people who've got stands named after them, won trophies, etc., etc. We know that, so don't jump on us when we're putting Christian Daly in legends category. Okay, so this is just a laugh, and it's legends of our lifetime sort of thing. And it'd be nice to reflect on old players. And we're going to start, like I say, mate, 96 to 2001 I've gone up to for this first episode. And, mate, there's some great names in there when I was doing the research.
What are the categories then? How are we going to categorise them? What can we put them into?
I think we will have legend there. We'll call it what should we call it? A modern legend. And then we'll have cult hero, maybe. What else should we have? A villain. Should we have villain category as well?
Icon.
And an icon, yeah. Okay, so icon, cult hero, legend, and villain. What about now? We need another section because there's a few players later on that are like meh players. Or what about absolute flop or something like that? Or like just disaster? Okay, so the first one, mate, for us, I thought it's a good way to start, actually, is Slav. Slav, he only played for us for a couple of years, but obviously has manager credentials as well. So we can add that in if they've had a career with us after their playing career. Good player, top player, good international, absolute warrior of a man on the pitch. And a manager that gave us one of the greatest seasons we've ever going to witness. The last season at Upton Park, he will be always remembered as the last manager there. What about you, mate, before we put a category on him?
Well, I would say there has to be the big but that he jumped ship for Everton.
Which is fair.
I know a lot of fans still hold that against him to this day. So there's a big but there, which I think is going to taint him. But like you say, great player when he was with us.
Got West Ham, I think. Got West Ham.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, got West Ham as a manager. Brilliant. I think he'll be more remembered as a manager than as a player with West Ham and West Ham fans. Where would you put him?
I think he goes in cult hero for me. He's not quite a legend. Well, he's definitely not a legend.
No.
And I wouldn't put him as an icon either.
I wouldn't.
If we're picking, if we're picking modern day West Ham 11s of our lifetime, Slav doesn't make it even on the bench for me. So I think a cult hero for him. He's not a flop. He's not a villain. But maybe some will say he's a villain, because of the Everton stuff. But he's given me enough good times as a manager to put him as a cult hero for me.
I agree with that. We'll stick him there.
This one's, I can't say I see him play much, but I thought it was fair to add him purely because, he is of that era. He's liked by a lot of players. Apparently a fantastic footballer by all accounts. I can't say I remember much about him. I've met him. I met him in the last game at Upton Park. Seems like a nice guy. And I think most people of age, slightly older than us, would put him in that cult hero category, I think.
Bish. Yeah, I would say so.
I think he was in the top 30 of the greatest hammers as well. So, the fact that he's in that top 30, top 40 says something.
Yeah, similar, mate. Like you say, didn't see him much. It was a long time ago. We were young. So, 96 took in 11 years old. So, it was a long way ago.
Put him in because I know he's a big name. But again, it's very hard because I can't say I see him play.
No. Was it Ian Bishop? There was loads of rumours about at the time as well with Trevor Morley.
Alleged.
I said rumours, I don't know. And I feel like that probably taints his legacy a bit. Not because of it's true or it's not true or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like that gets talked about. And see, when you mention Ian Bishop, I don't think about this midfielder running the game and all the rest of it. That's kind of what I think about. It's maybe ruined him a bit. I don't know. Like I say, I'd like, people a little bit older than us. They'll have the footballing side of things more. But I mean, if you were going to put him anywhere from our categories, I think he's going to have to be another cult hero. I feel like this is going to be a long list of cult heroes.
I think the cult hero list will be one of the longest. But there are some legends in there. There is, and a couple are coming up next, actually. And next on the list is possibly one that will be in a legends category of our time, is Tony Cottee. Again, not a player that I see a lot of as a kid at West Ham. But, that goal-scoring record, Leicester, Everton, West Ham, there's no doubt, and he's a proper Plaistow boy as well, and there's no doubt in this man, if we had to make a list now, if no one had played before West Ham, so we wouldn't have had anything before 1996, and it was from 96 we had to make a list, I think Tony Cottee would go in there on the legend category.
That's a really good way to qualify, actually, yeah. So if we're pretending that before 96, those players don't exist, so you're not comparing them to those players, I'd agree with that, mate. Yeah, I'd agree with that, TC. Obviously, massive West Ham, even recently with all the rumours, there's no secret that he wants a big part in the club and, being part of takeovers and stuff, hugely West Ham. And then what a player as well, fantastic player.
Maybe as well, we'd discredit him a little bit because we're talking from 96. And I think if you looked back at 85, 86, when we were like 1 year old, obviously he's part of the greatest West Ham season ever, scoring 25 goals and Frank McAvenny scoring 28 goals. He's part of that greatest season ever. Boys of 86, there's a DVD, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean? So to not have him in that legend category for this set of videos, I think would be wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate. I agree with you. I think that's fair. Yeah.
The next one.
That means now we've got a benchmark as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So we've got a benchmark for the legend category.
Yeah. So remember, guys, we are pretending, because it is our lifetime, we're pretending everything before 1996, West Ham related, didn't happen. Okay. Yeah. Or hasn't happened yet. So we can only judge it on what we've seen. A man that will certainly be joining him. I don't think there's a West Ham fan out there that wouldn't have him join him. It's Julian. What can I say? Got West Ham, hardest shot ever, penalty taking master, absolute icon of West Ham, synonymous. Where you say West Ham, there's 5 or 6 players, and I think you would say Julian. You go Julian Dicks. First player I ever had on my shirt. My hero as a kid. Unfortunately, I've never met him. I would love to meet him. And we might try and get him on the podcast actually soon. But what a guy. What a guy. What a player. Obviously had coaching with us as well. A legend for me. I don't think anyone could change my mind on that either.
No, I think if we were putting it in the context of all time West Ham, I don't think he's in there. I think icon's the word for him. If we were talking all time West Ham, yeah. But like you say, if we're going just pretending those early years don't exist for the purposes of this, yeah, there's going to be very few people that you're going to put above him on that list anyway. Yeah, and like you say, mate, what a player! What a player! Unbelievable player for us. Hardest penalty ever. Fantastic.
The fact he never played for England as well. Very political. That goes back to that club versus country stuff. I think what we did a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, fantastic player. What a player. How would he get on though now in modern day football?
Players like that,
smashing people up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, players like that. The game's changed too much. It just, you can't have players like that in today's game. Just wouldn't work. Julian would be sent off every week. And it's a shame, I understand, they want to protect players now and, injuries and all the rest of it. But there's not much that would get the crowd going like that. Like you're up against a tricky winger and someone like Julian Dicks just completely goes through him and knocks him into the stand. That gets the crowd going. That's part of the excitement and all the rest of it, where you don't really get that anymore.
Yeah, old school, isn't it? He's old school.
Yeah, old school, absolutely.
Off the pitch, though, really shy guy. Really shy, soft-spoken. Amazing, these players that come through like that.
Didn't really train. Loved the fag with old Slav.
Yeah, used to get on the milk float to skip the cross country when Billy Bonds was manager. If you've seen his DVD,
did he? He tried to be a professional golfer as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
What a bloke. Yeah, and definitely West Ham. And
I think the way he played as well, mate, was the reason his career was so short as well. Going into tackles 50-50 where they're not 50-50, they're more like 80-20, and Julian was the 20. Your knees are going to go eventually, aren't they? But what a player, what a man, and a true West Ham. Here's one for you, same sort of era. Ian Dowie obviously went on to be a manager, Crystal Palace. Always speaks highly of West Ham when he does speak. I think not the greatest, really, is he? Synonymous for that Stockport own goal. Not the greatest of players, really, is he?
No. He wasn't. But he's another one. Ian Dowie. I don't know. He's a name that will never be forgot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've met Ian Dowie. Met him a few years ago, actually. He's a really nice bloke as well. Really, really nice bloke. And yeah, it's a difficult one to categorise him.
It's hard. Yeah, he's definitely not a legend. He's definitely.
No. Part of me wants to compare him to
hero.
Yeah, part of me wants to kind of compare him to Colton, but he didn't have that lovable. He didn't have that lovable sort of thing that Colton had. You know what I mean? But he was the same. He's a little bit crap, but sort of summed up West Ham. I don't know. Maybe we're going to have to put Ian Dowie in the MER.
Yeah, I think category. So. Yeah. The MER category, yeah. The MER.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. This one's definitely not a MER. He's not a legend, but he's definitely not a MER. This is a fantastic player. Johnny Hartson, mate. What a player. What a striker. I was asked in a video this week, actually. It said, if you could bring back a player, but he has to be in the Moyes mould, who would it be? And Johnny Hartson was, one of the top ones on my list. One of the only West Ham players in the Premier League to score over 24 goals. I think the only. What a player. But I assume you may go on to his tarnishing. But
yeah, I'm getting all the tarnishing bits, am I? No. What a player. Came in, signed in January, wasn't
he? Yeah.
Him and Kitson.
Yeah.
And fantastic goal scorer, really good in the air. As you say, his record speaks for himself for West Ham, definitely. Like you say, if tarnish the tarnishing side of things, depending on how you look at it, is the whole training ground incident with Eyal Berkovic. Obviously, booted him in the head. He's been talking every time I've seen him on TV recently, because he's been doing some pundit. I don't know if he's been doing pundit work or what, but I've seen him on TV a few times recently, and that keeps coming up. The whole sort of Berkovic incident, and it's saying that he says now he regrets, shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But again, the game was different back then. Do you know what I mean?
I think that was to be honest, mate, that's one of the first training ground things that ever got sort of leaked, really, isn't it? And I'm talking football in general, not just West Ham. That was like the first big one of footage being taken at the training ground that was seen on the news.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know whether that's true, but it feels like that. Yeah, I know what you mean. It definitely feels like that.
No coincidence why fans are not really allowed in the training ground to watch training anymore, sort of after those incidents.
Because of that kind of thing. Yeah, it's a good point, mate. It's a good point. But yeah, definitely. Whenever, I think that's the thing, like I say, whenever I've seen him recently, that always comes up. And I think he says that himself, that's kind of tainted his career a little bit, because whenever people were talking about him, how great a player he was, how good a goal scorer he was, that always comes up. So
a shame. Like I say, went on to Celtic, had a really good career at Celtic as well. Good at Wales as well. Good with Wales. I think he goes in cult hero for me, because as a kid, I absolutely loved John Hartson as a kid. Really did. I'm talking when we first sort of started secondary school, 11, 12, he was definitely my favourite player. Definitely. Without a doubt.
I think the record that he has and elevates him and what he done for the club. Definitely. I don't think I'd put him any higher.
No, I wouldn't. Not any higher than Cult Hero, though. No.
Than that, but you wouldn't put him any lower either. So yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
This one maybe a little bit Marmite for you now, mate. Rio Ferdinand. Obviously, he can be classed as potentially maybe a Premier League legend. Let's not say anything about that. He's won everything. But what about in terms of his West Ham career?
I mean, he was phenomenal, mate. He was, as a young player coming through, he was absolutely fantastic. He was an amazing defender. Obviously he went on to achieve great things. He went on and improved massively as a player, playing alongside better players and all the rest of it. But it was there when he was at West Ham, he made a couple of mistakes, but he was fantastic tackler, fantastic at bringing the ball out. He was one of the early proper ball playing centre halves, who was comfortable on the ball, would bring the ball out of defence, could pick a pass. He was one of the few early sort of, in my mind anyway, that could do that, especially in the Premier League. And we sold him for a record fee for a defender at the time, a world record fee for a defender at the time. So as much as he went on to achieve massive greatness in the game, it was all there with us as well. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, we didn't win things. We didn't hit those heights. It was all there. It was all there. I don't think I would call him a West Ham legend because he wasn't with us for a long time. Obviously went on to Man United and he's spent his career at Man United.
I think we might have to add another category of maybe a good player or great player. We might have to add another category in there because he's not a cult hero for me either.
I would be tempted to put him in the icon spot, to be honest, mate.
Because of what he went on to achieve.
Yeah, what he went on to achieve, but not just that. He was a fantastic player for West Ham. He was part of that incredible, the Academy of Football era.
Yeah, arguably one of the best youth players that's come through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm talking through with Bobby as well. Bobby, Trevor, he's got to be in that top 10, of players that have come through our youth academy.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Like I say, he went for a world record fee at the time. He paid for our new stand, paid for the West Stand, the Rio stand.
Yeah. No coincidence as well. Every young player that comes through defensively, it's, he's the new Rio. He's the new Rio. He's the new Rio. I think if you get that, whether young players, it's the new Rio, it's the new this, you must have had something as a player,
100%, mate. And I think for me, that would put him on that icon bit. I'm going to say, I've said very recently in videos as well. And as I say, he went to Man United, spent his career at Man United. There's no doubt about it. He's a red. Rio is Man United through and through. He's a Man United fan. If West Ham would play Man United, he's wanting Man United to win. And it's a shame, it does kind of taint it. It makes me feel a bit sick when he talks like that. Because you don't like seeing it, someone who come through the academy, a proper West Ham youth player, then to go and fall in love with another club, it hurts a bit, especially when his brother, like Anton's proper West Ham still.
Yeah, and the I know he's Tottenham, but Les Ferdinand played for us as well. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So I mean that's tainted him. That does taint him for me, but that's just purely personal opinion. Do you know what I mean? If you're looking at as a player for West Ham, for me, I think he goes in that icon spot.
Yeah, we've got quite a few more actually, but it's good. We'll get through some of them a bit quicker than others. Paul Kitson, similar to John Hartson, saved us, was a decent player. Injuries maybe sort of hampered his career towards the end. One of his famous nights was against Charlton. Scored an hat-trick, and he for a long time was the last player to ever score an hat-trick for us for a long time before Marlon Airwood, I think, got one against Aston Villa. And he scored in that famous 5-4 game against Bradford. Good player, but I think injuries, holds him back from being. And again, I would put him in the great player category or good player category rather than cult hero or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair, mate. Like you say, part of that, Hartson Kitson partnership came in, did absolute wonders. Fantastic partnership there. Apart from that, doesn't particularly stand out. Yeah, I think that's fair, mate. I think like you say, the sort of great players, not really cult status, not really icon or anything like that. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Oh, this one though is an interesting one.
Stan
Lazaridis, mate. I don't even know whether I've spelt that right. The Aussie, mate, the Aussie winger, arguably one of the greatest goals I've ever seen against Newcastle. Doggy little player, went on to play for Birmingham and had a decent career there. Another one sort of had a few too many injuries towards the end, but he was a good little player. He was a nippy, typical like West Ham player of the 90s, him.
Yeah, I agree, mate. He was a good player. Like you say, that Newcastle goal really stands out to me. It's an interesting one when you're trying to categorise him, because I think he's one. If you say to West Ham fans in general, name some great West Ham players of the past, I don't think many are going to say
or they would even forget him. Like there's loads of names that are going to come up over these 3 episodes where you'd be like, oh yeah, do you know what I mean? And I think he's one of them.
Yeah, I think so, mate. Yeah. Do we need another category for heroes?
Yeah. I'm going to say he's a good player. Yeah, decent player. Yeah. Here's one for you. Former captain. We've met him outside 195.
Falling around on the floor. Shaggy do, yeah.
Synonymous with this celebration, I think. When he scored against Man City or Birmingham, I think it was. I can't remember. He was our captain for a long, long time, mate. A long time. Tough Irishman. Wasn't the most gifted of footballers, but he was hardworking. And for a long time, he drove that midfield for us.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Steve Lomas, brilliant. Like he's the sort of hard-working midfielder, got stuck in. Like you say, mate, didn't pull up trees, wasn't the best player in the world, but he was that consistent sort of 7 out of 10 player. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you say, mate, captain for a long time.
At least 5 years.
Yeah, a good West Ham captain as well. Captain of a good West Ham team.
I think that's a good point as well, mate. A good West Ham team. That's Di Canio, Sinclair era, and he was there on the team sheet every week. Mm-hmm. Maybe he was there to let those players play. Maybe that him being there was the reason these players could do what they could do.
Yeah, absolutely. A good anchor in midfield. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's very true, mate. I think if you were categorising him,
I'd give him cult era.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would. Yeah, I wouldn't. He's not a legend. You wouldn't class him as. I don't think you class him as an icon either.
But he was a funny guy, Shaggy do and all that. He seemed like a funny guy. Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah, cult hero Steve Lomas. Yeah.
Okay, we may have another legend here.
Oh,
Ludo. Arguably one of the best goalkeepers that's ever played for West Ham. There's always the conversation, isn't it? Phil Parkes, Ludo. We never got to see Phil Parkes, and arguably probably one of the best English goalkeepers, let alone West Ham goalkeepers. But Ludo, is the first goalkeeper I remember. He's got a song that's still sung to this day. He's a lovely guy. I've met him. I think it was Dagenham and Redbridge friendly game pre-season. He's a monster of a man, absolute huge man. Went on to be our goalkeeping coach, has trained some of our goalies. And, we haven't had many bad goalies, barring like Roberto. And obviously Ludo wasn't at the club then. For me, he's a legend, mate. He is. He goes in legend category for me, Ludo.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair, mate.
I think if you've still got a song that's being sung 20 years after you have played for West Ham, you are a legend.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's hard to argue with. Like you say, mate, arguably the best keeper that we've had in our generation, sort of in our time. Fantastic player. Like you say, great character as well. Fans absolutely adore him still to this day. Yeah, as you say, mate. Yeah, I think you could stick him in that legend category. We're going to end up with a really good legend team here.
Yeah, mate. Right, here's one. He's here. He's there. It's John Moncur. Mate, let's be honest. In our generation, when we had season, he didn't play much, but he ran around the corner flag. came on for 10 minutes, got a yellow card.
Sent off.
Fans absolutely loved him. I love John Moncur. You know, I've met him as well. He's a very nice guy. Obviously, his son played for the club for a little bit. He was actually a really, really good little player. Actually, he's skillful. He's quite a tricky little player for, you know, typical sort of English midfielder of the time. You know, decent on the ball. Scored a good goal in that Bradford game. I remember I think he scored the equaliser in that, a free kick. He's a cult hero without doubt. You know, like absolute. No, come on, mate. He's got a song named after him.
I was going to say, I was thinking the other way, like Johnny Monk's cult hero or icon.
I didn't see him play enough. I don't know what he was like actually when he was in the team. Like, let's be fair. When we had a season, he wasn't on the team sheet, was he? Really?
No, he was, like you say, he was one that literally would be used to come off the bench and kick somebody.
Yeah,
like that's literally how he was used. Like, right, Johnny Monk's on you go, kick him up in the air, stop the game. Do you know what I mean? And like you say, mate, fans loved him for that. I'm pretty sure one of my earliest memories at West Ham is him literally coming off the bench and swinging at somebody and getting sent off like 10 minutes later.
Absolute nutcase, the geezer.
Yeah, but you love that, you love that.
Like, off the pitch again, he's like supposed to be this really like religious guy, like really religious guy.
Maybe was he like that back then, or is he like a Nigel Benn sort of?
Oh, maybe, yeah,
found
like
God,
reformed, yeah.
But I feel see the likes of John Moncur. I feel like that's the template of the player that maybe the likes of Mark Noble should have been. I think when he came through,
that was a question that come up the other day. Actually, can you name another famous number 16? John Moncur. John Moncur is the last number 16 that I remember, of legend of that status.
Yeah, I think when Mark come through, that was the sort of that's he could be the next sort of John Moncur, that sort of hard, combatable midfielder, and that he's not. Oh, Mark. I think he might have tried to be, but he's not. He isn't the same. But
I don't think you can play like Johnny Monks did either now. Back that Julian Dicks thing.
Yeah, exactly. You can't. Well, I was going to say he gets sent off every week, but he had a good job at doing that back then as well. I think. All right, we'll settle with cult era. I think he could maybe be. He's at the top end of that.
Definitely. Yeah, he's definitely a top end cult hero. Yeah. How many more we got in this category? There's quite a few before we go into the 90s, into the 20s. Steve Potts, legend. Record some of the record most appearances of modern day. I think he's in the top 10, maybe top 20. I think that's next on Mark Noble's list, actually. Steve Potts, if he is, I don't think he'll even beat that potentially now. Captain, such a reliable, left centre back, where Cresswell plays now. Very small though, but again, never let us down. The only one that sticks out for me is Steaua Bucharest in Europe, where he made that one mistake and I believe he cried in the dressing room. Some went on to play for us as well. Dan Potts had a lot of role with the kids as well, didn't he? For a long time, legend for me. Legend for me.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about it, mate. Absolutely, no doubt about it. Funny enough, I actually had a conversation with him recently with our mate Bowden, who was talking about. He asked me, with the whole Mark Noble thing, signing an extension and all the rest of it. He said to me, "Why is there not the same respect, sort of, and the same sort of idolization over Steve Potts?" And I think there is. I think if you ask any West Ham fan who's around back then, they'll reel off the same,
He was our captain, wasn't he, as well? I think anyone who's a captain has got a right to be, in a conversation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like you say, the number of appearances, fantastic captain, really, really, as you say, reliable player, never let you down, didn't do anything fancy, but didn't do anything wrong. Just, and a fantastic
pitch either. Do you know what I mean? Like a true professional, a top player.
Absolutely. He's in the legend category.
Yeah, definitely. Here's one for you.
Abu.
Yeah, Mashi Abu. I don't know. He's on the borderline of MER and cult hero. I don't know.
Samasiabu is. I think the only reason you'd even consider him a cult hero is because he had a funny name.
Yeah. No, he wasn't that good, was he? To be fair, he wasn't that good. I remember him playing against Arsenal in a cup game, and he just was awful. I believe he missed a penalty in that game, I think, as well. A quick conversation on him, innit? Here's one. Top player. You know, you're talking eye for a pass, love taking the ball in tight spaces and getting out of trouble. Such a shame, again, back to the Johnny Hartson thing, that, you know, he did get kicked in the face, but sensational footballer, though. Fantastic footballer. Absolutely fantastic footballer. And again, when we were younger, maybe we didn't appreciate how good he was because you don't totally understand football. But now, if we had an Eyal Berkovic, you know, with that ability to find that pass, he was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic player.
Oh, yeah, he was. He was world-class playmaker. You know, as you say, mate, unbelievable player. I don't know. I think he's a difficult one to categorise, though. He's one that...
Yeah, he's not a cult hero. He's not a legend or an icon, but he's a great player. He's
a great player. He's one of the best. One of the best, mate. He's one of the best players we've had. And I think if you ask, you know, West Ham fans, especially West Ham fans of our age, maybe a couple of years older, to do, you know, a greatest team, Berkovic is going to be one that's always going to come up in that conversation. But yeah, I don't think...
I think with him, I'll tell you what as well with him, one thing I sort of do remember is if he got a kick, he's out of the game. Like if he got kicked in the first 10 minutes, you ain't seeing him for the rest of the game. And I think that's the only thing I can put as a negative to him.
So where would you put him?
Oh, great player in the great player, good player category. Definitely. Fantastic footballer. I've just put him in because I like, he was, you know, at the time, you know, coming back off a World Cup win, Bernard Lama played for us for a little bit.
I think he's is he not the only player, like in our time with a World Cup medal?
That's a good question. That is a good question.
I think he is.
Potentially.
I think he is.
Yeah, potentially, mate. Yeah. I can't think of any others. No, that's a really good question. Yeah, good goalie. Didn't play for us long enough, but I wanted to put him in because I remember I was quite happy when we signed him because obviously I was a big France fan when I was younger.
Mate, I genuinely think he's underrated. Obviously, the whole drug thing, you know, which is what sort of ended his career with us. But he was a fantastic goalkeeper. He really was. Like, genuinely, he was He was a really, really good goalkeeper. And it's a shame he didn't play longer for us. Because I think then you'd be going on and talking about him as a real great West Ham player.
Yeah, I don't know where he went. I don't know where he went after us, to be honest.
I think because of that whole controversy, it kind of ruined him a little bit. Which is a shame. It is a shame because he was a great player. Apparently a real character as well.
Yeah. Right, we've got about 10 more for this show. Next one, I think our first villain. Our first villain has come to the foil. Listen, I'm going to be honest. I will be honest, and I will be really honest. I've got 3 photos with Frank Lampard. I have. He was my favourite player as a kid. He was. I used to love players that could score from long range. You know, whenever I used to go over the AstroTurf in Newham, I used to be like, Lampard! And when he left, it hurt me. It did. It hurt me. I liked him as a player, you know. I thought he was big West Ham, you know, and my dad always used to talk about Frank Lampard Senior. But yeah, he's a villain. I'm sorry. He just has said so much bad stuff about us over the past. He didn't have to. And maybe if he didn't, we'd be putting him in different conversations here. You know, he could have left quietly and just got on with it. But no, he's a villain for me, mate.
I think there's absolutely no doubt about that, mate. Like you say, if he'd have left quietly and shown West Ham some respect, and I don't really, you know, when people defend him, they're like, oh, but look at the way he was treated by the fans. You know, they sacked his uncle, and look at the way they treated his dad. And yeah, but have you ever heard Harry Redknapp or Frank Lampard Sr. say a bad word about West Ham?
No,
I haven't.
no. Harry went a bit wobbly when he was at Tottenham, but now he always good about West Ham. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't. Like, if they haven't got a problem with it, why did Frank Jr. have a problem with it? I don't know. And like you say, if he'd have dealt with things differently, then we would be talking about him differently.
But I will give him credit. He is a Premier League legend. I will give him that. He is a Premier League legend.
Yeah, and no one can argue that. No one can argue that. His status in the game, what he went on to achieve, fantastic. An incredibly good player.
Amazing goal scorer. Amazing goal scorer.
Yeah, you can't deny that. You can't take that away from him. You can't deny that. But as I said in a recent video, he's my most hated player of all time. I can't stand him.
Yeah,
hate Frank Lampard. And
villain, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely a villain. Absolutely, mate.
Few more. One of my favourites from back in the day, Ian Pearce. Again, another one. Injuries. At the time, was so close to the England team. I was at the game where he did his leg. I think Shaka broke his leg in that game as well. Good goal scorer as well for a defender. He had a really good season with us at one time. He's going to go in good player for me though, just because the injuries didn't allow him to play enough. I think he could have gone on and been a really, really top player. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's another one who's still talked about today. A lot of the times, especially this season, his name's come up a lot when we're talking about, we haven't got any strikers. What defenders can we play up front? Like Ian Pearce, do you know what I mean? So he's still one who gets talked about. And I think that's fair. Great players, it's fair.
Yeah. Here's one, mate. Here's one. Listen, one of my favourite players of all time. What a player. Synonymous for that era as well. When we were a really good football team then, we played some lovely, lovely football. Came in, played at right wing back. Then he sort of went to right. Actually, he came in as a striker, didn't he? And then he went to right midfield, right wing back, and sort of throughout his career, went on to play for England as well. Played in that Argentina game. Top player, mate. Top player.
Yeah, again, one of the best West Ham players of all time.
Best goals we've ever seen.
Yeah, and without a doubt, the best West Ham goal I've ever seen. Far better than the Di Canio volley for me. The goal he scored against Derby, which never gets talked about and annoys me every time.
But he scored some crackers though, mate. Against Man City and Charlton, where he just like chest, knee, bang.
There's no doubt about it. One of the best players we've ever had. Absolutely phenomenal. And he's another one. If you could take a prime Trevor Sinclair, he goes into any team. Even now, yeah. Even now, he goes into any team.
100%. Great, incredible as well.
Yeah, incredible player. I don't think he's a legend. I don't think he goes into that category for us.
I was going to say I would put him into icon. I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Into an icon as me.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Again, remember, guys, if you are just joining us and you're skipping through, it's since '96, and we're pretending that nothing happened before we were born, basically. Here's one. Joe, listen, arguably one of the best players that's ever come through our youth academy. Maybe, knocked the skill out of him by Mourinho.
I don't think there's any maybe about it, mate. Definitely.
Yeah, well, okay, definitely. Then came back as well, back in the sort of 2010s era. I love Joe. I loved him. Absolutely devastated the day he left and he was sitting in that Chelsea shirt. I was in Faliraki at the time. I see his debut. I see his first goal. I've met him. Yeah, an icon for me. Definitely an icon. Just purely because of, all the hype that was around him and everything. I'll let you talk now, mate. Go on.
Yeah. It just like you were saying about Lampard, mate, that was Joey for me. I absolutely loved Joe Cole. Same sort of thing, when we played when we were kids, you would be that long shot monster like Lampard. I'd be the one who wanted to do all the tricks and take everyone on because of that, because of Joe Cole. Like I say, I remember him. I think he came off the bench against Man United, and as a kid looked absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I remember his debut was against Swansea in the cup. Because Julian Dicks scored, he came on and he did some tricks and that. I was like, "Oh, is this geezer?"
Just an unbelievable.
Was
talent.
our captain as well? Was our captain the year we went down, mate?
Young,
kept us up.
young player as well to wear the armband.
Talks highly of us now.
Even when he left, excuse me, like you say, he had that sort of trickery coached out of him a bit. Got moved on to the left hand side. Look, he's one of England's best ever left-sided players as well. Yeah, incredible. One of my favourite players of all time, without a doubt. First player I ever had on the back of my shirt.
Loved it when he came back as well. Loved it when he came back.
I'll always love Joe. There is the sort of Chelsea thing. He spoke about recently about who are you more, West Ham or are you more Chelsea? And he's always said, it's 50-50. I can't decide between them, and even that's a bit painful.
Yeah, he was on a video actually on Chelsea's Twitter because the bloke in work was winding me up about it, where he goes, "It's our birthday," and it was Joe Cohen, and it's like,
Yeah, he's said recently.
I've got to put him as an icon, though, mate.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah, for me, he goes as an icon. It's just a shame. It's a shame that
if he wasn't relegated as well, he would have stayed a bit longer as well. I think.
Yeah.
He had no choice, man. He's one of the greatest younger players that had come through at the time. You can't afford a year in the Championship. I'm sorry at that.
No, someone like that. Yeah, someone like that.
Rice. It's like Declan Rice if we would have went down last year.
Yeah, with that much hype around them, you can't blame him for leaving. Of course you can't. You can't blame him for leaving. But yeah, I'll always love Joe.
Yeah. Right, we've got still a few actually. But this is a brilliant show. Marc Vivian Foe. Great player for us at the time. Probably not as appreciated because the role wasn't fully understood then. He was part of the Di Canio goal. He played the ball to obviously Sinclair. Went on to have a really decent career, obviously, until his untimely death. But purely because of, and it's not just because of the way he went. I've got to put him as an icon, mate, because he did mean a lot to a lot of people. He did. I know he didn't play for West Ham long, but I think I have to put him in as an icon.
I wouldn't, if it was purely me, just because he didn't play for us for very long. But he was a fantastic player. I think it's a really good point ahead of his time. I think it's a really good point. The role that he played wasn't really appreciated as much back then. I'm happy enough if you want to put him in icon. We'll stick to that. But to me, I don't think I wouldn't put him as an icon purely because
maybe a great player, cult hero.
Yeah, cult hero / great player. Probably great player because he didn't play for us that long. But yeah, you can't deny how good he was. He was a fantastic player.
Yeah. Oh, here's a bit of a marmitey one for us. Yeah, Paulo Wanchope, mate. Now let's put it into perspective a bit, mate. 17 goals in the Premier League. No West Ham players achieved that in donkeys. Weird player though.
He's a weird player, mate, because like you say, he's got a good goal scoring record. But he was an absolute donkey. Like some of the misses. He scored 17. He could have scored 27.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like some of the chances he missed were unbelievable.
I do remember one against Derby actually really sticks out in my mind. Di Canio cut it back to him and he put it over the bar from about 4 yards up.
Literally what's in my head, mate. Literally what's in my head. Like you say, and some of the chances, obviously all players miss chances, but he did it consistently.
Yeah.
And he's a weird one because he, like you say, mate, he scored goals.
What would you do to have a player that scored 17 goals in the Premier League? If we had one now, where would be even higher in the league?
Do you know, a completely different style of player, completely different players. But he reminds me of Antonio. Yeah. Antonio's goal scoring record is really good, especially at the minute. But you wouldn't bet on him to finish a one-on-one.
That good. You wouldn't say he's technically good.
No, he's not technically that good. I wouldn't bet on him to finish a one-on-one. Yeah. I'd expect him to miss. But his goal scoring record's quite good. I would say similar to our Wanchope was. Do you know what I mean? Completely different players, completely different style of player. But
it's harsh on him. But I'm sorry, mate. I think I have to put him in the MER.
Yeah,
I do.
Can you put a player who scored that many goals for us in the MER?
I know, mate. I know. It's a weird one, but he goes MER for me. I'll probably get dug out a little bit for that, but yeah, he's a MER for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Few more left in this episode. Well, you know, mate, I discussed this man. How many times do I discuss this man as one of the best defenders that I've ever seen at West Ham? Able to ping a pass. That's what I used to love. They'd play it back to him, and he'd just ping it out to Sinclair or Joe Cole on the wings. And every time he'd find that pass, he was a proper warrior as well, like a proper, you know, Croatian warrior. I think he's gone on to do really good things, management and stuff like that now. I think he might even be the Croatian manager, I think, or director of football, something like that. Great player, great player. Proper leader as well, leader.
Yeah, fantastic player. You know, when we've talked previously, you know, about our all-time best West Ham 11 and stuff, he always comes up in the conversation for one of the best centre-backs. Fantastic player. Fantastic player. Where do you put him?
Cult hero.
I think that's fair.
I don't have to say that. Like, he doesn't come up in a lot of conversations with other people, though. So maybe just a great player. Maybe just a great player. Is he just
our bias, maybe?
Yeah, I really liked him. I really liked him as a player. I used to think he was immense. Yeah, maybe great player then. Maybe great player.
Love to know, by the way, in the comments as well, guys, the players that we're going through, if you agree with us or you disagree, if you'd put them somewhere else, let us know. Let us know where you would put these players as well.
Here's one. I know Paul loves this guy, and so do I. Stuart Pearce. Psycho Pearce. Listen, he didn't play for us long. England, you know, England icon.
What, 36 when he came to West Ham?
36, 37. Who would have known? Scored one of the goals, and I know you was there as well, mate. That's the maddest I've ever seen Upton Park go in my lifetime. They're just ridiculous. It was like people going like this. Against Tottenham, the free kick. Go and check it out on FA Cup website. You'll be able to find it. Yeah, I just, you know, he's synonymous for English left backs. Probably the man who kept Julian Dicks out of the England team, to be honest with you. Another one of the hardest shots I've ever seen. Just, you know, hard as nails as well. He wanted to play on with a broken leg, for God's sake. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the story that gets told. You know, he broke his leg and they literally had to hold him down on the table at half time to stop him coming out for the second half. Absolute warrior of a man. Yeah. Absolute warrior of a man. He was so passionate about the game. He gave 110% every time he pulled on the shirt. Every time he pulled on the shirt. Absolute. I love Stuart Pearce. You know, he was
coaching team now, mate. Do you know what I mean?
And I'm so pleased that he is, because you wouldn't say, you know, Stuart Pearce. He's not West Ham. He's not. Stuart Pearce ain't West Ham.
Forest.
But because of that, like I say, he gives 110% every time he pulled on that shirt for us.
You know that he does that for his job as well. You know,
exactly.
That coaching going, we give 110% every single day.
Exactly. I think it's a shame.
Kevin Nolan, you know, there's a good.
Yeah, I think it's a shame. I feel like his time as England coach maybe tainted his career a bit.
And Man City, he wasn't particularly a good manager.
No,
I would say fantastic coach, maybe not a good manager.
Yeah, as a player, fantastic, and I just loved him for that, and I loved him for that passion, and I loved him for that determination.
He's a cult hero for me, I think.
And he was a brilliant player. He definitely a cult hero, and I'm so pleased he's at the club now. I really am. I'm so pleased.
100%. Here we go. A bit of a funny one, but a good player. Good player.
Very good player.
Good player. Went on to have a good career at the dirty Spurs, but you know, when he first came through, he scored on his debut. The same day that Paulo Di Canio scored the scissor. Good player, tidy, great finisher. You know, he sort of, you know, went on to be like what Wanchope could have been. You know, very similar, gangly player, but he was so good. He was a really, really good player. Really good
very good player. Good feet, good on the ball. Fantastic finisher. Yeah, he was a brilliant player. I don't think you could put him anywhere apart from the great player category.
Yeah. He wasn't there that long, was he?
No, he wasn't there that long. He's definitely not an icon or a legend. I don't think he's a cult hero, but he's a great player.
Yeah. Couple more. I do promise. Neil the Razor Ruddock. Listen, this geezer for me is synonymous for the Arsenal game. where he got Patrick Vieira sent off. Reenacting the Paulo Di Canio red card with Ian Wright. I didn't put Ian Wright on the list. Played up front for us a couple of times. I put him in there just because his name. I think he's a very, very funny man.
Do you know what? It's funny you say that. See what you said. What he's synonymous with. What he reminds you. Do you know what he reminds me of every time I hear his name? Can't play. Will take it away.
Oh yeah, I've seen that episode as well.
Yeah, funny man. Razor Ruddock.
He's got to be a MER, though, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
He wasn't.
He wasn't that good.
And another one that come like he's about 38, I think, or 35 or something like that. Yeah, just one in there to make us laugh. Here's another one. Michael Carrick. Another one went on to have fantastic career at Manchester United. Was decent for us again. Maybe ahead of his time a little bit, an undervalued sort of style of play. Every team now needs that style of player. But back then, maybe a bit undervalued or maybe overshadowed by Joe Cole, potentially.
Yeah.
And Defoe at the time as well.
Similar as well, I think. Like we were saying about Foe, I think the role that he played in the team, that sort of holding midfielder position, I don't think that was fully appreciated back then, the role that he did. Really good passer. It's funny, talking about when we were younger, I feel like, Lampard, Cole, I would always think of Lee as Carrick.
Yeah. It was his favourite player as well, wasn't it, at the time, Carrick?
Yeah. Again, went on to have fantastic career.
Part of the Man United coaching team.
Yeah, part of the Man United coaching team, still going. Brilliant player. Didn't see the best of him for us, but obviously we saw the potential was there. One of that crop of, the Academy of Football and that great crop of players that came through. It's difficult to classify though, because I think I would probably just put him in the great player section.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, mate. Great player for me. Yeah, there's two more for this episode, and I've left some really good two for the last two. Shaka. I love this guy. I did. I loved him as a goalie. I thought he was a really good goalie for us. Again, broke his leg. But again, at the time, he was really close to maybe being England goalie.
Yeah. Obviously,
then he went on to be Trinidad and Tobago goalie. But at the time, he was really highly touted to be England goalie. But maybe the little tarnish is letting Gerrard's one in the FA Cup final, mate. Should he have got there? I don't know. Is that?
Could he have done better? Probably I think the thing that with that goal was it came from so far out.
Oh, it's 40, 50 yards. I'm going to sound like the barber from American. What's it coming to America? That was 100 yards out.
He had a long time to see it. Maybe he should have saved it. You can't blame him for that game, though. Shaq's was a brilliant goalkeeper. And again, like we said, we've had some really good. I think that's one position where we've done really well over the years.
Fairly solid the whole time. Yeah,
we've done really well over the years at goalkeeper. And he was a brilliant goalkeeper. He really was. He was really good for West Ham. He was at West Ham for quite a long time as well.
Yeah, cult hero for me. I think he could. Yeah, lovely guy as well. I have met him as well, Shaka. Yeah, cult hero for me. Okay, last one for this episode. There's only one man who I could finish with. It's God. It's Paulo Di Canio.
He gets his own category.
No, he does. For me, no one can say anything to me about Paulo Di Canio. The man is God. People see me say this on this channel all the whole time. The fact he's Italian actually hurts me a little bit because where me and you used to have that little rivalry, about Italian and French. But there's no doubt about it that the guy is a magician, an entertainer, a passion, maverick. I don't know what other words I can use for him. Gave me some of the greatest moments I've ever had as a West Ham fan. Just such a shame we never won a cup with him because that would have just been the icing on the cake for me.
He embodies West Ham United. That maverick. That's just. We
love.
Yeah. And it always comes up still to this day. If you hear any pundit talking about West Ham and West Ham players, they love a maverick. They love a maverick at West Ham. And it's Paulo. Paulo embodied that player. let's not pretend he was perfect. You know, he didn't like playing up north, didn't like playing away. He went missing from games the relegation season, kind of threw Roder under the bus.
Yeah.
But there's no denying one of the greatest players to ever pull on a West Ham shirt. Absolutely incredible player. I don't think there's a player since maybe, you know, you would argue Dimitri Payet who had that excitement, get you on the edge of your seat every time he got the ball. Defenders were terrified of him. Defenders were absolutely
never had any pace,
terrified of him.
mate. Didn't have pace, but Jesus Christ, you ain't getting that ball off him. You're not.
The way that he played the game back then, you didn't see in the Premier League players like that, you know, who would stand a man up and do a few step overs. You know, compared to today's game now, you know, players do that all the time. You like see your Neymars and Mbappe's and Ronaldo and all the rest of it. But I feel like back then, you didn't see that as much.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And the way that he stood players up, and the defenders were absolutely terrified of him. Incredible technically, finishing was unbelievable. Strike a ball from long distance on the volley, you know, fantastically technically. Incredibly hard worker on the training ground. First one in, last one out. What a player! What a player! You know, and there's no doubt he's at the top tier. There's absolutely no doubt.
Yes. Yeah, that brings to an end 96 to 2000. I hope you've enjoyed that show, guys. I was already hoping these would be for half hour, but it shows, you know, that it just brings back so many great memories. I hope you've gone along with it. Please comment along, you know, and give us where you think these players are. We'll be back next week with 2001 to 2010. Until next time, guys, come on your minds, keep believing. Let's go.